What's up, everybody? We hit record on this episode just before the Aaron Judge injury news broke. So the first little bit of the conversation is slightly outdated. Still, most of it is very relevant, but we did check our phones and the news broke later in the episode. So we discussed the 4 to 6 week injury diagnosis for Aaron Judge. Later in the episode, I'll put timestamps in the description so you can hop around, but just wanted to put this quick disclaimer at the top of the episode to let you guys know why there might be slightly outdated conversation, but again, still very relevant. With that said, let's get into the episode. Welcome to the Locked In Baseball podcast. I'm William Locke. He is Luis Barranco. It is Thursday evening, June 4th. Luis, you're out in Colorado. Another busy weekend. You're on the road a lot this spring, man.
I'm on the road. It's the summer, man. It's not the spring. I'm on the road, ready to talk some ball. Going to be boots on the ground tomorrow. Check the Instagram account tomorrow. Gonna me and the boys, we're all going out, and wives and girlfriends. Gotta put that out there. It's not just a guys trip. We're going to the Colorado Rockies versus the Milwaukee Brewers. Jacob Mezrowski's pitching, and everybody's on this trip is trying to tell me that the Rockies are actually a decent ball club. But I keep telling them that they stink and they're not good, and everybody's like, it's going to be entertaining, and I'm like, no, it's not. Jacob Mezrowski is about to go for 11 strikeouts, 6 strong tomorrow.
Hey, well, enjoy that game. I'm very jealous that you get to see Mezrowski live. I might be boots on the ground. I'm, as of now, planning to go to the Cubs game, but it's supposed to rain all day tomorrow here in Chicago, so it might get postponed. We'll see. You talking about the Rockies is actually a perfect segue. I do want to open up the podcast showing this home run that was hit by the Rockies. I think it was on Tuesday night in Anaheim off Jo Adell's head. So TJ Rumfield is going to hit this out to right field. As you can see, it doinks off his head over the wall for a home run. Rumfield doesn't know, but here's a closer look. Right off the head, and he pulled a Jose Canseco.
He did, really did.
I got the Jose Canseco right here. It's a like for like, exact same thing. So one of the lone Angels Rockies highlights of the year. We're not going to talk about that series at all in this podcast. This is a loaded episode.
Why not? We give love to every single MLB franchise on this podcast, and you and me both know that.
We do talk a lot about – that is true. We do talk a lot about every single team, but it is a loaded podcast. We're going to talk about the Aaron Judge injury and what it means for the Yankees. We still don't have final word, but we're going to kind of speculate. We're going to talk about Ohtani, who's having another incredible season, maybe his best ever. Cristopher Sánchez, his scoreless inning streak. Paul Skenes, a little bit of struggles. Seattle, they're heating up. The Cubs are just absolutely in the tank. We talked about it on Sunday, doing a Giants deep dive. And we're going to do that on today's episode, talking some of their finances and where that franchise is going. We'll get into the May Team of the Month, go around the horn, and talk about the Super Regionals happening in the NCAA tournament this weekend. So it's a loaded episode, but I want to start with the Aaron Judge injury. Luis, Yankees lose 2 out of 3 to Cleveland in the Bronx. Disappointing series with Schlittler and Garrett Cole both losing their starts on Tuesday and Wednesday, respectively. Yankees won the getaway day game here today on Thursday, 2-1, and what was a pretty boring game. But the biggest news is, of course, Aaron Judge. While we don't have official word on what the injury is, he did not play at all this series. A New York-based specialist confirmed that the Yankees' initial diagnosis of a bone bruise near Judge's right rib cage. So it seems like a right rib cage injury. They're keep ordering additional testing. We don't really know what's going on. He was sent to a I don't know how to say it.
Thoracic outlet syndrome.
He saw a specialist for that, some guy from Texas, I believe. So that's kind of the speculation right now. Or, the Yankees could be trying to rule that out. They might think he might actually have it. We really don't know as we're recording this. We keep getting hourly non-updates from John Heyman on Twitter. But Luis, what were your thoughts on the series and more specifically this Aaron Judge injury and what could be looming ahead for the Yankees?
I mean, the June swoon actually started on June 1st this year, my friends. The Yankees June swoon, it's like they say, it's never late. It's always here waiting on us. And talking about the series against the Guardians, we previewed it a little bit, talking off air, and we previewed it, on air. What really hurts about this series is not only the Judge injury, but what hurts is, we talked about, could this be the best Yankees rotation we've seen in quite some time? I think we both could come on this pod and be very, very confident enough that when you see Cam Schlittler and Garrett Cole taking the bump for 2 starts out of 3, you expect to win those starts. You expect to get good outings from both of them, and you expect the offense just to do just enough to get enough run support and get you those wins. But this week, it was quite the opposite. Cam Schlittler was not at his best, and neither was Garrett Cole. And, they both had their worst starts of the year, both of them. And so that's what really hurts, that you expect to have those two, it's kind of like those 2 aces that you have in your pocket, and they weren't able to come through for you. And again, it's baseball. These things are due in the season. It's hard to be good for all over, 162 and be consistent. It's very difficult, and this was bound to happen. One of these blow-up starts is bound to happen. Just stinks that it happened against the Guardians, and, knowing the stigma that comes with the Yankees, that it is the June swoon, that's what hurts. To put insult to injury, having the Aaron Judge injury hurts. Again, we've both seen he's kind of been struggling at the plate. And when it comes to Judge, I think, the Yankees rather be cautious than rush him out there. He is their $300+ million man. He is the best player in the American League. And you kind of want to be careful with your investment. You don't want to throw Judge out there immediately next week or tomorrow and him to get injured and just to not be able to play again this season, because you and me both know that the Yankees without Aaron Judge is not a World Series contending team. They will not win the AL. They will not get far in the playoffs. The team and the offense rides and dies with Aaron Judge. Yes, Ben Rice has taken the leap this season, but Aaron Judge is the catalyst to what the Yankees do in the postseason and throughout the regular season. And that's what kind of really hurt this week. Having those 2 aces lose and then having the Judge injury, it hurts. And us not having the updates and everything and hearing the thoracic outlet syndrome, again, many fans think of thoracic outlet syndrome more recently to Zach Wheeler. But again, that is a pitcher, not a hitter. We've seen other hitters have it and not been able to come back up to par. And so that's where Yankee fans, not only that it is a major injury, but we put major pause because it is Aaron Judge.
Yeah, it's a huge concern. Obviously, if that's the injury, I mean, it could not necessarily career ending, but we'll never see the same Aaron Judge again. Like if it is this outlet syndrome, I'm hoping that it's just they were trying to rule that out and it's some type of ribcage injury. Bottom line is, though, ribcage injuries take a long time to recover from. He's not going to be back anytime soon. I think regardless whether or not it's this outlet syndrome or whether it's just a regular ribcage injury, he's going on the injured list. He's going to be out for at least a month, I think, at this point. Again, this is all pure speculation, but I'd be very surprised if he's back in the lineup next week. Like I think it is going to be an extended outage, whatever, for Aaron Judge. And you mentioned the struggles. Since May 11th, he's hitting .206 with only 1 home run, 8 RBIs, and 19 strikeouts. I think me and you both have kind of been hinting at it all season. It just really hasn't felt like he's been himself the whole season. And, we kind of hold him to insanely high expectations, but he's proven the past few years that he can perform to those expectations. He is the best hitter when he's at his best in the league. And 100%, like if Judge is out for the season, it's undoubtedly it kills the Yankees World Series chances. But if Aaron Judge is only injured he's out for a couple months or something, look, obviously losing Aaron Judge to injury is a huge loss for the Yankees. It's a devastating loss. He is the best hitter in the league when he's healthy and firing. But also, like, look, man, the Yankees have a $300 million payroll. Like, you still have arguably the best left fielder in the league. You still have Ben Rice, who's an MVP candidate in the American League. And I understand Aaron Judge not being in the lineup changes the way opposing staffs pitch to the lineup and approach the rest of the Yankee lineup. Can you hear that loud siren as it goes by? But the other guys on the Yankees have to step up. Bellinger, Rice. I need to see some production from the catcher position. Volpe, Caballero, you're not going to get much sympathy from teams around the league when you see teams with a fraction of the payroll that the Yankees have, like the Guardians, the Brewers, the Rays, all of those teams having a ton of success this season. Like, the rest of the lineup has to step up, man. I'm sorry. It shouldn't just be, okay, the Yankees lose Aaron Judge. I know he's the best hitter in the league when healthy, And it shouldn't just be you lose him and the whole team all of a sudden turns into the Angels. Like, let's not. You still have one of the best starting staffs in the American League, in the entire league, even with Max Fried hurt. I know there's bullpen issues, but let's not act like the Yankees are all of a sudden a bottom dweller with Aaron Judge out. They should still make the playoffs. The World Series chances, though, I think are out the window if Judge is out for the season.
No, and I completely agree. I just think it's this could be a blessing in disguise having Judge take this rest period, and thinking back at Aaron Judge's injury history, like Aaron Judge, we think about this great player. He's always had injury concerns yearly. He had the toe injury, the freak toe injury in LA. Last year, he had that elbow injury that we were talking about, Tommy John, for a good month of July. And so, I mean, this could just be a good reset for the Yankees. And let's also add to the fact that there's reinforcements on the way. Giancarlo's working out. I think as much as we talk about Giancarlo, about how he can't run, how he can't defend, and he's not versatile to the lineup, he changes the complexity of the lineup just having a right-handed hitter that breaks those lefties up in the lineup. That's something that, we don't talk about a lot and the casual fan doesn't really look at. Giancarlo still is a very good hitter. The problem is he can't run and he's positionally he's not versatile. He just blocks the Yankees from using a Goldschmidt or a Rice on a day-to-day basis. So that means two of those three can only play. And, Jason Dominguez also could be back by next week. And I feel like he was one of the guys pre-injury that was turning the corner and could have been a guy that was about to break out. Unfortunately, he took that huge injury to the shoulder on that Thursday game against the Rangers. But I do feel like there's reinforcements. And like you say, the Yankees have had so many good development wins this past year that I feel like, having Judge go to the lab, put him in a, bubble wrap for the next month, have him, recharge, be ready for the stretch run. I just think that's just maybe a blessing in disguise.
Obviously, that's the best case scenario, I feel like, at this point. If it's, if he's out for the season, that is devastating. I want to push back on the narrative of the injuries. Last year, he played 152 games. The year before that, he played 158. 23, he was injured, yes. And then 2022, he played 157. 2021, he played 148. It's really before 2020 is when he was dealing with a lot of injury. And, he still has had things come up like the flexor strain last year. But I do think that narrative is maybe a little bit overblown. He has been able to stay healthy for the most part. Now this, we'll see, the numbers were way down. And I think he's been playing hurt for a while. So I do hope, if it isn't a season ending thing, take the time to recoup. I don't think there's anyone that's going to be running away with the American League East. Like, the Yankees should be able to stay in this thing.
You bring up great points. I mean, the Rays just got swept by the Tigers, and the Tigers were dead to rights last weekend in our book.
Yeah. Anything else on the Yankees? I do want to hit on Cleveland for.
I want to hit on one more thing about the Yankees. I want to hit two things. One thing on the Yankees, and then go to Cleveland. Positive note: Carlos Rodon had a really good start. I looked at the stat line. I was on the move. I was keeping up. I was looking at it, but really good start today. I think that's something, getting Los up to speed. And, basically he said that he's pitching again, knowing how to pitch again, getting his release point back. That was pretty good for him. And going to the Guardians, man, Jose Ramirez had himself a series. He had 13 at-bats, and he racked up 7 hits and 3 RBIs. He had himself a nice little series in New York. And again, I was talking about this in the car with John. John's a big Guardians fan. John's been diehard watching Guardians games back and forth this year. And, we were trying to talk about who is better than Jose Ramirez at third base. And we're just saying, he's still underrated, because I don't think there's a better third baseman in the game than Jose Ramirez. I know we beat that drum every single podcast, but, he's pretty damn elite.
Yeah, his numbers this season aren't up to par. I think he'll get back to where he normally is. But, yeah, I think he's firmly established himself as the best third baseman in the league. Even if he struggled a little bit the first couple months of this season, he deserves the benefit of the doubt. And he kills the Yankees. He crushes it in Yankee Stadium. They showed the numbers on the broadcast last night. He's just a Yankee killer, man.
And what do I say? One series in New York, one trip to New York gets you right in life. That could be for Jose Ramirez. And, the Guardians, again, what a team that they have. I mean, Cade Smith's been on fire. He pitched some good outings this week. And Travis Bazzana, what do you think about him? Finally, watching Bazzana,
I love Bazzana, man. I watch him even when they're not playing the Yankees. He's the perfect leadoff hitter. I think it was a couple weeks ago. Stephen Vogt didn't want to commit to him taking the leadoff spot. They were committed to Kwan, and then they moved Kwan down, put Bazana in the leadoff spot. And man, he's an on-base machine. He's a stolen base machine. He's a really, really good player. And what I look at with Cleveland is Cleveland has two of the more impressive series wins over the last couple of weeks. They went into Philly and they won a series in which they faced Zach Wheeler and Cristopher Sánchez. They beat Chris Sanchez on the Friday when he threw like 7-8 scoreless innings. Gavin Williams outdueled him. They won that game like 1-0. They lost the Wheeler start and then beat Andrew Painter on the Sunday game. Then they go into the Bronx in Yankee Stadium and they beat Cam Schlittler and Garrett Cole on back-to-back nights. That tells me that is a legitimate team. That's a team that you need to take seriously in the postseason. This team feels different this year. They have 3 Rookie of the Year candidates in Travis Bazana, Parker Messick, and Chase DeLauder. Neither of them will probably win the award. I think it'll probably be Kevin McGonigal, but those guys are playing at a Rookie of the Year caliber pace. And, I've been very, very impressed with this team. And they're doing it without J-Ram playing at the J-Ram level that we expect. They're doing it without Stephen Kwan, really any production from him. They have an elite staff. They have a lockdown bullpen. Losing Eric Zabrowski to the elbow is a huge loss. I really hope he comes back at some point this season for them. But, man, Cleveland is tough. They play it tough. They do the little things right. Everyone always says it, but they're a really good team. And they came into the Bronx, and they made a statement, in my opinion, this week.
Couldn't agree more with that, to be honest. So let's move on. We give you a little of that. I mean, the Guardians are playing some good ball. They could have been like I made this point and to close the whole Guards talk today. If the Guards have a month where they win about 60 to 7% of their games, I think they can lock up the division. Being the firm like grasp, they have one hand on the division. One hand on the trophy.
They're getting really close already because Chicago lost Murakami. Chicago's not pushing for the division this year.
And the schedule. We'll talk about that later. The schedule in June. And, you also got the Royals struggling, Tigers struggling, and the Twins. We know the Twins are going to be selling here at the deadline. So the white flag is already out on Minnesota. But let's keep it moving. We're going to talk some Shohei. I mean, is this Shohei Ohtani's best season, William? I mean, the guy has a 5.2 WAR, 301 batting average, 420 OBP, 521 slug, 941 OPS. Again, he's not playing tonight against the Diamondbacks. They have a 4-game set in which the Dodgers have won 2 out of 3 so far. He pitched 6 last night, 2 hits, one walk, 6 strikeouts. His ERA is .74. Are we witnessing? At first I was very harsh on the Shohei bat, but man, the pitching, as you said, he's always wanted to win a Cy Young, and I mean, the Cy Young race in the NL is a bloodbath, William.
I got the highlights up from last night. He had 6 strikeouts, I think it was, and 3 singles. He's a one-of-one man. I mean, I'm just watching these here. There's the third one right there. Dunks in front of the right fielder. He's had an incredible season. And to your point, I know you mentioned the early struggles. I do feel like because Ohtani struggled a little bit early at the plate, or because Ohtani struggled early on at the plate this season, people kind of wrote him off a little bit as a hitter this year. But I do think this could be Shohei Ohtani's best all-around season as a big leaguer ever. Now, of course, it's only June when we're recording this. I still think he's been the Dodgers' best hitter. Top 2 for sure, maybe behind Pages. But he leads the Dodgers in average OBP, which he leads the league in OBP, the National League. OPS, he's 6th in MLB. WRC plus, he's tied for 1st in the National League. He leads the Dodgers in WOBA, FWAR, weighted on base average, or ex-WOBA, sorry. And he really struggled from like the middle of April through the middle of May. And he was benched for 2 games as a hitter. And he made some slight mechanical changes related to his posture in the box. Since he made those changes, from August 15th through June 3rd, he leads Major League Baseball in average, OBP, OPS, WRC plus, weighted on base average, FWAR, and he's 2nd in slug. He's been the best hitter in baseball over the last 3 weeks. And obviously, you know what he's doing at the mound or on the mound this year. He's allowed one earned run over his last 24 innings pitched in his last 4 starts. Hitters are slashing 144, 224, and 211 against him this season. He has 2 of the top 6 pitches in baseball by run value, his four-seamer and his sweeper. And among pitchers with at least 60 innings pitched this season, he leads in ERA. He's 3rd in expected ERA. He's 4th in FIP, 6th in FWAR, and his 194 BABIP is the lowest in the league. So maybe he's getting a little bit lucky with bat to ball stuff, but regardless, he's been absolutely incredible on the mound. He's in the Cy Young running. Unfortunately for him, it is an incredibly loaded field this year, and it's going to be really tough for him to actually win the award. And the bat is coming around. So if he continues at this pace the rest of the season, this is probably his best season ever, because you got to think about it. 2023, he's had incredible hitting seasons, right? 2023 won the MVP, but he got Tommy John that season, only pitched 20-something starts. 2024, he didn't pitch at all, had the best, year of his career at the plate. And then 2025, he was still ramping up on the mound. This is really the first full season where he's pitching at a Cy Young level and hitting at an MVP level. And I do think just because he struggled earlier, people kind of wrote him off as a hitter, but he's really been turning it around. So we genuinely could be looking at the best Ohtani season ever. And if it's the best Ohtani season ever, it kind of means it's the best season by a big leaguer ever. Now, it's still early. We still got 4 months, whatever, to go, but it's something I'm watching. I do feel like somehow, some way he's flying under the radar a little bit.
Because it is Shohei Ohtani, and anything that Shohei Ohtani does, it doesn't seem like out of the ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we think anything is possible when it comes to Shohei. He's like 101. He's like, you're watching LeBron play. You're watching one of the greats of all time to do it. And, I was one of those guys, and you have the receipts that I hope you never put them to light. Me calling out Shohei out for the bat and, saying that somebody else should win. But man, Shohei is truly a delight. And, there's a lot of things that go into it. Think about it. You got to think about the WBC a little bit. They had the WBC. I know Japan fell short, and also the World Series too. That they've been to the World Series. That's a lot of baseball. Sometimes fatigue can set in, and that he is playing 2 positions, which there's the mental side of a hitter and the mental side from a pitcher that it takes a lot of time to prepare. So nothing's out of the ordinary for Shohei. Again, this could be the best MLB season we've ever seen.
Yeah, and I try to tune in every start that I can just to watch something that never happens, has never happened before. He is a one of one. I love watching the guy, and I do think people take it for granted a little bit. And I don't know, the hate sometimes he gets is just so unjustified. Like, we just got to enjoy and appreciate what we have. We only have so many seasons left with him. Who knows how long he can keep doing this? Luis, we have an Aaron Judge update.
What happened?
The Yankees have announced that Aaron Judge has a stress fracture. He will be reimaged in approximately 4 to 6 weeks. The team does expect him to return this season.
Honestly, that's not bad. Like, I'm going to be honest, that is probably the best case scenario of news we're reading. Let's get these kids up. Jason Dominguez, Spencer Jones, like I said, let's get them some ABs. Giancarlo, you need to come up. And, I feel like the guy who needs to step up, like I said, is Giancarlo Stanton. When he comes back from injury, he's kind of like the rah-rah guy in the clubhouse. We've seen it in the past couple of years, and it's your time to shine. I mean, Cody Bellinger's been great, but he doesn't give me the vibes. It's going to come down to Giancarlo. And do we expect the Yankees to make any moves? It's too early to tell. But I'm looking at Giancarlo and Dominguez to step up. But honestly, best case scenario, because whenever you throw out thoracic outlet syndrome, I'm thinking not 3 to 4 months. I'm thinking like damn near a year.
Yeah. So 4 to 6 weeks re-imaged. Let's say 2 months we're looking at. Like an August return. August, yeah.
He's out for the All-Star break. He's out to the All-Star break. And so they'll put it – where are we? We're at June 4th. All-Star is like the 14th or 15th this year, around those dates in the early teens. So we're like a month and we're like 5 weeks out. Probably doesn't come back. Maybe he comes back for Old Timers Day, and which would put him back around the start of August, first weekend of August. I think that's kind of like the best case scenario, the 8th, 7th, 8th, 9th. But honestly, it's Aaron Judge. I wouldn't mind them being cautious. As long as they're winning, and like I said, it's going to come down to the Yankees starting rotation and can the bullpen get it together. The Yankees rotation, if Rodon, we see more of today's Rodon, and Schlittler, Cole, and we get Fried back, those 4 guys can easily win you games. You're not going to need many runs. 4 runs should be enough to get you wins between those 4 guys.
You just don't want to put a ton of pressure on the bullpen. But look, the rest of the guys in the lineup have to step up. This is not an excuse for the Yankees to all of a sudden fall into the cellar of the American League. You have tons of talent. You have a $300 million payroll. Like I said, best left fielder, arguably in the American League. You got Ben Rice, MVP candidate. You got to get it done. The rest of the guys, they have to step up. This is an opportunity for them to change the narrative, because the narrative this season, even with Aaron Judge in the lineup, was that no one else really outside of Ben Rice and Bellinger are stepping up and helping the team, produce runs. And you got to see Jazz step up. I need shortstop. What are we getting at third base? Third base has been a black hole this season for the most part.
I'm just saying, it's going to have to come from guys like Jazz, Volpe. The leader in the pack got to be Giancarlo. And honestly, William, I don't want to go too long on this subject, but let's just be honest. What it's going to come down to, it's like you said, do these guys step up? And honestly, this could be, again, a blessing in disguise. And I don't want to think too far ahead of me, but right now the Yankees would be playing, after the wild card, they would be playing the Rays. And I don't want to see the Rays. If I'm the Yankees, I don't want to see the Rays in the first round, in the second round, in the DS. That's a boogeyman team. So if you fall a little bit in the standings while you get up to health, again, we're playing for October, not playing for the 162. You fall a little bit, you could get one of those central block, and you could have a Mickey Mouse run to the World Series.
You never know.
And honestly, people are going to be like, oh, it's a Mickey Mouse run. But again, you won the pennant. And I think that's what matters at the end of the day for the Yankees, winning the pennant and winning the World Series and getting to the end.
100%. Big picture, you know who this is very good news for?
Giancarlo Stanton, Spencer Jones, Jason Dominguez.
No, Bobby Witt Jr. I think Bobby Witt Jr. with this Aaron Judge injury probably just sealed up his first MVP award.
I think that's a hot take. I mean, Jordan Alvarez, Ben Rice.
I think Bobby Witt's going to win it because of the sheer defensive talent. I know the offensive numbers haven't been off the chart, but the guy's just a F4 machine. He's easily the best defensive player in the league right now. And I know he's on a terrible Royals team. I don't know how much voters are going to factor that in. And look, Ben Rice is going to, pitchers are going to pitch around him more now that he is, not protecting Aaron Judge or hitting in front of Aaron Judge, whatever it may be. I think you might see Ben Rice's numbers tick down a little bit. I don't know. Can Jordan has to do something otherworldly to win the MVP because he's a DH. He kind of has to have an Ohtani caliber season. I think this is good news for Mr. Bobby Witt Jr.
You know what? Let's close it because we're 25 minutes in. We got a lot. We got a loaded pod today. My thing is, what stinks is Giancarlo's going to come back, and we're going to have at bats taken away from Goldie.
Yeah,
and I want to see Goldie every day.
Yeah, Goldie's been good. All right, let's keep it moving. Cristopher Sánchez, his scoreless inning streak was snapped at 50.2 on Wednesday evening in Philadelphia. Phillies, they swept the Padres 3-2, 3-2, and 6-4 was the final today. Cristopher Sánchez went 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. His ERA is down to 1.46 on the season. He's the Cy Young leader in the clubhouse right now. Actually, I have the video of the Jackson Merrill single here that broke up the streak, an RBI single here in the 7th. And gets in just ahead of the throw there. That ended the streak. Got a standing ovation. He was smiling. Merrill actually said, quote, "He's nasty. All credit to him. It's been insanely impressive what he just did." Or it's insanely impressive what he just did. I told Harper, I said, "I've never felt so bad getting an RBI before." I thought that was kind of funny. 5th longest streak of all time. Tops ever for a lefty. And it is the longest in Phillies history. So, tip of the cap to Cristopher Sánchez. Oral Hershiser's 59 innings pitched scoreless streak still stands. That one's from 1988. But Sánchez, man, gave him a really good run for his money. So tip of the cap to Sánchez.
And we talk about the NL bloodbath that is Jacob Mazeroski, Cristopher Sánchez, Paul Skenes, and Shohei Ohtani for the Cy Young. Again, Cristopher Sánchez is doing something with the changeup. It's a wicked changeup. And holding them down to 50 innings is nuts. And especially in the technology that's out there, you listen to how guys prepare, the framing, the strike zones and everything, how guys prepare, and being that dominant just deserves, a round of applause in itself. Aside from that, I want to talk about the Padres quickly.
Okay.
Padres are now 1 out of their last 10. They're 1-9 in their last 10. The Padres regression has started. We have called this weekly that we're waiting for the tick down. The Padres regression is here. They've lost 5 in a row. They've lost a series sweep. They lost a season series against the Phillies. They lost all 6, getting swept by the Phillies and then swept by the Nationals. William, I want to sound the alarm right now on San Diego. It's June, and I think we need to start, putting, the flyers out there that something has to change or this team is going south very fast.
Yeah, the regression has finally hit. The luck isn't there anymore. They don't have the starting pitching to hold. We know they were going to go after bullpen help at the deadline. Reportedly, I don't know. Is that going to be the case? I know they have new ownership coming in, which, it's been reported that it might help their financial, might. They might be willing to spend even more money. Problem for them is, again, they just have so many bad contracts on the books. We don't know what that'll look like next season if a salary cap gets implemented, but I actually think they would be under the top salary cap number or the salary cap itself. But this team, I just don't think they're that good. If you're star players, what do you, like we always say, what do you need to win championships? You need guys, ideally one, if you get multiple, but guys playing at an MVP level in the lineup. You need a guy to have a career year to have a real chance at winning the thing. And look, their star player, Fernando Tatis, he's been terrible. And, Manny Machado's not producing anymore. Jackson Merrill hasn't lived up to the hype. It's a recipe for a not good team. They weren't going to keep it up for the whole season the way they were playing. And I just think probably the third best team in the West behind the Dodgers and Arizona. I think they're better than San Francisco, which we'll get to them later. And obviously they're better than the Rockies, but I think at best they're pushing third wild card. It's kind of what I think of them.
Hey, don't say that Rockies line around here. The house that I'm in right now, people are telling me the Rockies they stink, but they're coming back. So.
They got a long way to go. I know we were talking about their farm system via text today. Condon really hasn't panned out the way they thought. I think their first draft this year will be interesting.
We'll deep dive them after we get a look, like an infield look. We'll save that for Sunday night. Let's not get lost. Hats off. Oh, we got some news?
No, were you going to transition to the next topic? I do want to have one more thing on this series.
Yeah, go ahead.
Philly is an underrated stadium. Look at this home run by GTO Realmuto in the 7th.
That is a beautiful skyline.
I feel like Citizens Bank is one of the more underrated parks in baseball. I saw that GTO Realmuto home run on Wednesday, and he hits it left center. And as it's flying through the air, you see the beautiful sunset in the background with the Philadelphia skyline. I'm like, how many stadiums can replicate that? There's only a select few. Obviously, PNC.
PNC's one. San Francisco, you get the McCovey Cove. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Dodger Stadium, if you loop it, you get the whole skyline. And if you're sitting top deck, you can see everything pretty nice. Lone Depot Park, if you're out there in the bag.
Right.
Okay, that's where the list dies. That's where you cut me off and we move on to the next topic.
But I do, credit to Philly. It's a beautiful stadium. I think it is a little bit underrated.
Definitely not City. Definitely not City Field, because City Field you're going to be just breathing in jet fumes because you're just next to LaGuardia. Yeah,
you're going to be breathing in Delta flight from LaGuardia to San Francisco jet fuel. Yeah,
you gotta love the jet fuel coming in from the American place. That's what happens when you're in the Mets.
Let's move on. Let's talk about Paul Skenes. Skenes has been struggling a little bit. Now, Pittsburgh is playing right now. They're winning 5-1 in the 7th against Houston. They won on Tuesday, blew the game on Wednesday.
It's already in the 7th inning, really? Sorry to interrupt, but
yeah,
because I was watching the game upstairs. We got the hockey going on. We got the Canes and the Knights, and it was 1-0 when I left it.
Yeah, it's 5-1 right now. Pittsburgh in the 7th. Wednesday was a crazy game. That was the Skenes start. He went 4 2/3, 3 earned, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. A deep dive him in a second. Here's how. So Pittsburgh was up 8-3 in the 7th and then blew it. Houston scored 6 runs in the 8th, capped off by this Cam Smith triple down the line. Scored 2 runs. I love a triple like that, hit right down the line. We had Isaac Paredes, I think it was, score the second run. And yeah, so Pittsburgh blew that one. The winning right now, Jordan went 4 for 5. But let's take a look at Paul Skenes. Over his last 4 starts, 20 innings pitched, he has a 5.85 ERA, and his whip is up to 1.60, which his career mark is 0.94. If you look at the numbers, the walk rate is up. His K minus walk is down versus his career. And the fastball velo is down a mile per hour. He's 97.1 this year, 98.3 on the career. You know, I do think some of this could just be a little bit of bad luck, and we could start to see Paul Skenes turn it around. His BABIP is really high, 414. His career mark is 274, and his expected ERA is 3.23 in his last 5 starts and 2.28 on the season, which his expected ERA is actually second best in all of baseball this year, and he's still 6th in FIP. So a lot of this could just be some batted ball luck, but he has, frankly, he's not been good over the last 4 starts. And you know, when you're really nitpicking like Cy Young races, Mizorowski and Sanchez and Ohtani, those guys have been completely lights out this season. Skenes has had a couple sketchy starts. I do think this is going to even out a little bit. And, you know, he's going to, once we get into the summer, like mid-June, July, August, the dog days kind of, I expect him to really kind of, you know, turn it on. And this is a good Pittsburgh team. The fact that Skenes hasn't even been at his best and this Pittsburgh team is still winning games, they're over 500 pretty easily. Like that's kind of a scary thought for opposing teams like the Cubs in the division. But it is something I'm monitoring, just what we see from Skenes moving forward. But I think this boils down to more bad luck than anything. I think, you know, he's increased the off-speed usage this year, and the hard hit rate is much lower than his career numbers. So he's turning into a different type of pitcher so far this season, throwing harder or throwing slower, a little bit softer. Just something interesting, something to watch.
I do feel like, you know, every great pitcher in these, you know, we talked, one of the ones I just saw live, Chris Sale, man. We talked about how Chris Sale had those rough stretches that he had. He had that rough stretch from Boston that we thought, a lot of people thought he was just done. And then he goes to Atlanta, gets a Cy Young. You know, great pitchers, and every pitcher goes through a rough stretch, you know, where it's just bad luck. Things happen, and, you know, the calls don't go the way. And it's baseball. The ball bounces differently. You know, things happen. And I do feel like I said, I think it's all luck. And you said the off-speed usage. And again, he's still relatively young in his career. This is only like, you know, we're in year 2 of Skenes, really. This is the first full Skenes year. So it's kind of like, you know, we're like, oh, yeah, like nitpicking that he has this ERA in the past 4 starts. It's only year 2. You know, the sophomore slumps do exist. We get more data, or as people say, data on these pitchers. So, again, teams will find a way to attack you differently.
Yeah, second full season. Here's an interesting what if. What if so we know the Yankees were in trade rumors. Allegedly, they called the Pirates last summer on Paul Skenes. No. What if no, just hear me out. What if the Yankees traded what if the Pirates traded Paul Skenes to the Yankees last summer? Pirates would have, you know, we obviously know it would take a generational return. Pirates would have Cam Sutler fighting for the National League Cy Young, Spencer Jones. What?
George Lombard.
Yeah, so let me just go through it. They would have Spencer Jones potentially at DH over Marcell Ozuna. Marcell Ozuna has been a black hole for them this season. Spencer Jones probably pushing for the strikeout record, but maybe he'd be a piece. George Lombard somewhere in the infield sometime over the next season or two next to Connor Griffin, which could be a potentially elite young infield, and Carlos Aranje potentially ready to be a legit arm out of the pen or maybe transition to a starter at some point in his career as well. Just an interesting thought. Last summer, obviously, that would have been the craziest trade possible. Think about it now. Obviously, I think you'd still, if you're the Pirates, you'd rather have Paul Skenes. Cam Slittler still doesn't have the track record, and I think any GM would take Skenes over Slittler for the next 5 years or whatever it is. But just an interesting what if that trade actually happened.
You got to line up those pockets, my guy. That's I think the biggest thing that you need to do. Line up those pockets for the Pirates. Get those fans in the seats.
I'd be curious because they've spent money around him to try to make the team better. Did they eventually spend money on him himself? You know, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, he might be the next big whale of a pitcher that goes on the free agency. And again, I'm so tired of the hypothetical Yankees trades. It's you know, we talked about Clint Frazier and Miguel Andujar. that's what Spencer Jones, Jason Dominguez, and these players are becoming in like Twitter fan lore.
George Lombard is the new one.
No, George Lombard's untouchable. Like it's Clint Frazier and Miguel Andujar is like Elmer Rodriguez Cruz and Spencer Jones and Dominguez. All those three are like all together. But what's scary in the AL is the Seattle Mariners this week. The Seattle Mariners won 2 out of 3 against the Mets. They won 3-2 and 10 on Monday. Cole Young walked it off AJ Minter in the 10th, and then Tuesday the Mariners won 8-3. They racked up 11 hits after Carson Benj homered twice. But Seattle's been one of the bigger surprises, not surprises, but biggest bounce backs. We talk about coming back to the mean, regressing to the mean, coming back to normal. And they've been one of those teams, William. I mean, they won the series against the Mets, and then they also have a sweep versus the Mariners, and they also swept the A's. And they're looking to get, firm control of the AL West.
And with this Judge injury, which we don't know what he'll look like when he gets back, we could be looking at the Mariners being the favorite in the American League. And I think because they got off to the slow start, people completely wrote them off. But I look at this Mariners team and I see a lot of similarities to Toronto last season. Look at a very specific day, May 24th, 2025. The Jays had a 25-26 record. From that day forward, they went 69-42. Obviously, we're inches away from winning the World Series. I look at this 2026 Mariners team on May 24th. The day before they started their 8-game winning streak, they were 25-29. They're 33-30 now. And I think this Mariners team can be better than what they were last year. And the reason I think that is, well, they're hitting home runs. They're 5th in home runs. And that's only with Cal Raleigh at 7. He's been injured. You have Luke Raley at 13, J-Rod at 13, and J.P. Crawford at 10. Randy Arozarena is having a career year. J-Rod is actually good in the first half for the first time in a long time. Luke Raley has been great. Cole Young, been solid. Colt Emerson. Remember, Colt Emerson was a top 5 prospect in all of baseball. He's starting to come along. Like, let's not write him off. That infield is loaded. They've been doing all of that without Brendan Donovan as well. He's been injured. Once he comes back into the fold, that adds another bat, another versatile piece to the lineup. And maybe the most important piece, the guy that kind of, the straw that stirs the drink to say, Cal Raleigh, he's been injured, but guess what? They're still in first place. And I think this Raleigh injury, as crazy as it sounds, I know it's an oblique and those are tougher hitters to come back from. I think it could be a good thing for Raleigh and the team, because think of all the baseball Cal Raleigh's played over the last year. He played a full regular season last year. Then he, at an MVP clip. Then he went into a deep playoff run, made it to Game 7 of the ALCS. Then he comes back to spring training early, plays in the WBC. He's been playing a lot of baseball over the last year. And I think taking this time away from the game will be good for him. Rest, recuperate mentally and physically. He's going to come back firing. He's going to come back and he's going to be the Cal Raleigh of old. I'm not saying he's going to be like 60 home run pace Cal Raleigh, but I think he's going to be refreshed and ready to come back. Josh Naylor's going to turn it on at some point. And then we know what the rotation is. And the star in the rotation this year arguably has been Emerson Hancock, who's been great. He's relying on that 4-seamer over the sinker this year, ditched the changeup. I think this team is better than last year. The bullpen is solid. But the real reason is I just feel a lot better about the lineup than I did last year, which is crazy to say when a guy hits 60 home runs for the team. But I just think it's a much deeper lineup with the additions of Donovan when he's healthy, Colt Emerson coming along, Luke Raley randomly having a good year. Like, this Mariners team, watch out for the Mariners. I think with this Judge injury, I think they should be viewed as the American League favorites right now. I know that might sound crazy to some people, but they're really turning it on. And, it doesn't really matter how you play in March and April because you're in first place in June here.
It's a sleeping giant that was sitting out there in the Pacific Northwest, kind of fitting for the sleeping giant. I know we talk about Sasquatch being in Minnesota and being the land of 1,000 lakes in Minnesota, but it's the Pacific Northwest, man. Again, the Mariners have probably the deepest, I'd say, staff in baseball, pitching staff in the AL, with Emerson Hancock, Luis Castillo's pitching decent, Bryce Miller's pitching, Brian Woo's finally hitting back to form, and they got George Kirby and Logan Gilbert. So again, their team, we do not want them to get hot. And if Cal Raleigh comes back after injury and starts hitting the ball out of the park and showing some little bit of what he had last year, watch out.
It's a potentially scary team, 100%.
The biggest thing too. Sorry to interrupt, but they just swept the A's, and the A's were looking decent, but they just swept them.
Yeah, and Texas really hasn't gotten it going at all this year. Houston, I know Houston got Josh Hader back this week, but I don't think anybody thinks Houston's going to be contending for the division. And you look at what the Mariners have coming up. They got an East Coast swing. They're going Detroit, Baltimore, and Washington. Those are 3 winnable series for them. They could, right now they're 2 up of the Athletics. I mean, Fangraphs gives them a 66.6% chance of winning the division. I think they could run away with this thing. I just don't think anyone else in the division has the firepower to stay up with them this year.
They got to sweep, man. Again, they got to get 2 sweeps out of 3. As we say, good teams win series, great teams sweep. Let's see if they're right.
100%. Let's actually do the Giants deep dive before the Cubs seller discussion, because the Cubs game against the A's is about to wrap up. They're in the bottom of the 9th right now. So, Luis, I know you did a lot of research. We both did on this Giants team. We want to kind of talk about what's going on. Ironically, they won the series against the Brewers this week. Logan Webb almost threw a no-hitter, and they scored 12 runs today on Thursday. But they still stink. I think the conversation is still relevant. So
it's what we call the healing touch at the Locked In Baseball podcast. We talk about how terrible you are, and then you just magically win a series. We teased it on Sunday, but man, I was on my flight to Denver today, and I was prepping for the podcast. I had a 4-hour flight from Miami. And, I whipped up the computer, whipped up the courage to look in the San Francisco Giants, and I was quite surprised as to what I was able to unfold. First off, I sat Monday night. I got home Monday night from the gym, made my my slop, which is, Greek yogurt, sweet potato, mashed sweet potato, and some ground beef, ground chuck specifically. It's called the slop bowl. And so and sometimes I put hot honey in it. It's just purely weightlifting purposes.
It's like dog food.
It really is. It looks like dog food. There's some dogs in life that eat better than me. They eat like steak. But, regardless. Funny enough, there was a dog actually having his own seat on the plane in front of me. So yet again, whatever. I get home. And so I'm watching the game, and I put on the game. And boy, was it an eyesore watching the San Francisco Giants play baseball on Monday night. I was secretly praying that Love Island premiered on Monday night so I can turn off the game and go watch Love Island. But I sat through it because I am a baseball fanatic, and I will sit through bad games and I will watch bad teams. But it encouraged me to dive deeper to see what they've been. The San Francisco Giants has not made the playoffs since 2021. And aside from that 2021 fluke run that you call, they had not been in the playoffs since 2016. They've only had one season over 500 since 2016, which was 2021, the fluke year where they won over 100 games. And they finished no season better than 3rd place in the NL West since 2016. The average age of all these rosters from now and from 2016 onward have been between 28 and 30. They're ranked every year middle of the pack hitting and pitching, barring the 2021 year where they just went ballistic on the pitching. But the biggest thing is with the Giants is like this team has been the epitome of 81 and 81 for the past 10 years, aside from that one year. And, I wanted to be like, okay, so what's going on with this team? Is it that their guys aren't producing up to the levels that they're supposed to? Or is it that you just don't develop? And I looked at their farm system, and boy, their farm system is nothing to write home about. I think it's a bottom 3rd farm to what they've produced. And some of the guys they've produced in the past, Logan Webb, which great. Joey Bart, that draft pick, he was a top 3 draft pick for them. Didn't work out. Camilo Doval, Patrick Bailey, Heliot Ramos, Brian Reynolds was traded. He's on Pittsburgh right now. Kyle Harrison was traded, and he's one of the best pitchers this year in baseball. Steven Okert, Austin Slater, Landon Roop, and then Casey Schmidt, who's actually been solid this year. But those aren't guys you build MLB teams around. Like Logan Webb is a good pitcher, but I think the jury, you and me, can go back and forth, and I can argue that Logan Webb is not a pitcher that you build a rotation around. Logan Webb is a good 1B pitcher, in my opinion, that you can be like. He's not a workhorse. And then when you look at this team,
sorry, he's a workhorse. He's a 200+ inning guy, but he's not he's not a number one on a World Series caliber team. I think he's never going to win a Cy Young. He's not a Cy Young caliber pitcher, but he is an elite Number 2 on a World Series team. I think that's what he is.
He's a number 2 on a contending team, a team that makes the World Series. 2 or 3.
He's a pitch to contact type of guy, and like it's just tough to be an ace, a non-power arm ace on any staff in 2026. You need to be a power arm.
And my whole point is the Giants they've had their issues in free agency, but when you look at it, they've splashed the cash. They signed John Hooley, Robbie Ray, Matt Chapman, Willie Adames, Rafael Devers, Luis Reyes, Justin Verlander. But these signings haven't translated to wins. And I just feel like this is a team that I feel just needs to like take the Band-Aid off. And I think we just need to just be honest with ourselves. I think we're kind of just, stuck blasting the past of us growing up where they won those World Series in those odd number years in 11 and 13 and 15 every other year.
You got it wrong. It's 2010, 2012, and 2014, even number years.
I thought it was the odd years. But I just say, but my whole point is we've kind of overrated this team from then on. We kind of put them up to like, oh, there's just like, they're this great franchise and they're this, but they haven't done anything since 2016, aside from that one magical run that they had in 2021 that they still lost.
Yeah. I don't think the Giants know what they are as an organization, to be honest. I think, they have money, they spend money, but I don't think there's a strategy in place. Look at the names they've acquired. Jung Hoo Lee, sure, he's been solid. Robbie Ray, that signing's been a disaster. Matt Chapman, not worth the money at all. He has an 84 WRC plus this season. Rafael Devers, I know he had a good May. Somehow he still has a negative 0.1 F4 and a 96 WRC plus. He's below league average. He's below replacement level. The Justin Verlander signing didn't work out. Ironically, the signing that's worked out for them so far, and it's been their best player this year, is Luis Arraez, who they signed for 1 year, $12 million, and they're going to trade him at the trade deadline. And we talk about the farm system. Who have they developed over the last 5 years or so outside of Logan Webb and Casey Schmidt? I mean, you mentioned it. Joey Bart flopped. Doval, they traded. Patrick Bailey didn't work out. They traded. And you look at the division, they're trying to keep up with the Dodgers, but you're just not going to keep up with the Dodgers. The Giants need to stop just splashing the cash recklessly because now they have a lot of bad contracts on the books, and they need to look internally and really revamp the farm system strategy, the internal development strategy. And I don't know if Buster Posey's the guy for the job. It's his first job. And now you have competition in San Diego, new ownership there. Expect them to spend more money. Arizona's always solid. I think they do a really good job of developing talent. And there's a new regime in Colorado who they're still 5 years away from being 5 years away, but at least there's some type of strategy in place in Colorado now. I don't feel like I don't feel like San Francisco has any idea what they're doing. And
I don't think they know who they are either. Like you said, they hired also Tony Vitello. They hired a college guy. Like, why are you going to hire a college guy? And no offense to Vitello. We know Tony Vitello's resume speaks for itself in the college game. And we know it speaks for itself in the professional baseball game. But at the end of the day, when you look at this roster, William, you see that they can compete to go to the playoffs. Why are you going to go get somebody that has no prior MLB experience to go coach a bunch of vets? I think Vitello would have worked if he would go I don't want to say Colorado because we're in the Colorado themed podcast, but like a young team like that's analytically driven or forward thinking that there's like an infrastructure in place. There's no infrastructure in place in San Francisco, I feel like. I
would have loved to see Vitello in like Miami. Place like that, I feel like he maybe would have worked out. I don't think you could have put prime Joe Torre, prime Lou Piniella on this Giants team. I don't really think it would have mattered. I don't want to put too much on Tony Vitello. There have been some weird vibes coming from him this year for sure, but I don't think he's the reason to blame. Just the players aren't playing to the contracts. They're not playing to the back of the baseball card this season. And I don't know. It's a really tough place to hit, sure, but that's not an excuse. They've won World Series there before. So,
but I think they get more juice out of the squeeze with guys like Ozzie Guillen, like those old time managers, coaching veterans, and I think there's a little more respect given to a guy who's who's done it for a while. Yeah, I don't want to look down about it, but again, this is a personalities game. We know there's egos involved when it comes to professional sports and guys that are making millions. In college, again, the college game is changing with the name, image, and likeness. But again, Tony Vitello has earned his respect to be building proven winners at Tennessee.
Yeah, it's just a totally different game in the big leagues. It's tough I'm not in the locker room. I don't know, what players' view of him is. It could be a 1 year thing and done. And then I don't know where he goes on from there. Maybe he does a year of media and then goes back to the college game or something.
But let me just ask you this. Let's say you're a guy I don't want to call somebody up, but let's say you're a Dominican player who's played in Dominican Republic, a guy who signed an international free agent, and then you come over and you're on the Giants. What do you know out of Tony Vitello? What does like a Rafael Devers know about Tony Vitello? A guy
He probably doesn't He probably doesn't know anything about the SEC. I don't want to like speak for him, but he probably is not too tapped in on college baseball at all. No.
So, the Cubs A's game finished.
2 strikes, 2 outs. They're down 6-5 in the bottom of the 9th, so not quite yet.
So are we putting out the white flag with the Cubs this year, or you got Cubs sellers here?
I guess we can talk about it. So they lose on Monday, they lose on Tuesday. They lose on Tuesday, they lose on Wednesday, and they're still playing right now. Gage Jump, second career start on Tuesday, 7 innings, 1 earned, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Jameson Taillon actually had a good start, but a Zach Geloff RBI single in the 4th was the difference there. Hogan Harris picked up the save for the A's. Then on Wednesday, the A's won 5-4-10. Colin Ray, 2 earned runs, home runs from Colby Thomas, Seiya Suzuki, and PCA. I think PCA actually homered again today, so he's kind of heating up a little bit. The Cubs had a 4-2 lead in the 8th, but then Caleb Theobar gave up 2 runs, which tied it at 4. You had Kurtz having an RBI single in the 10th. That was the difference. Cubs did not do anything in the bottom half of the 10th. Here's this Colby Thomas home run. I wanted to show it because it was an absolute tater. You don't really see home runs like this in Wrigley, I feel like, too often, but I'll play right here for you. Oh, wait, let me go back to the front. Look at that. Out of the stadium onto Waveland. 426 feet, I think it was. Yeah, 426. The Cubs just tied it.
Oh, so
the Cubs tied it.
So do you want to save it for the weekend? Are we putting up the white flag? You're saying sellers, man. I think it's early to call them a seller, man. Teams can have some bad ball in them.
Yeah, but they've been so bad, and I just don't know if the pitching is sustainable. All right, let's keep it for Sunday or next week sometime. Yeah.
So William, let's talk about it. We missed it on our last pod, but again, I did some deep dives. May team of the month. Would you like to begin with our team of the month?
Here it is. We got it up on the screen now. We both aligned on these picks. We went back and forth a little bit. But yeah, you can see it right there. Shea Langoliers, Nick Kurtz, Luis Arraez, Junior Caminero, Bobby Witt Jr., Cody Bellinger, Byron Buxton, James Wood, Juan Soto. Starting pitcher 1, Cristopher Sanchez. Starting pitcher 2, Jacob Mizorowski. They were both absolutely incredible in the month of May. And our reliever is Louis Varland. Luis, any ones you want to harp on specifically?
Big fan of what they're doing in Sacramento with the A's. Kind of become the unofficial Sacramento spokesperson. Loving what Kurt and Langoliers is doing. Langoliers hit 2 homers tonight. And a guy I really have seen a lot of pitching between, the playoff series last year against the Yankees and just the end of the run with the Jays. And I really am enjoying this year watching is Louis Varland. I think he's very underrated. Big deadline pickup that they got at the deadline last year, and he's kind of been one of those unsung heroes that not many people talk about how great he is. I wouldn't mind to see him close out some games with the Jeff Hoffman struggles. Let him do the closer role. He's lights out for me.
Yeah, he has been. He's been saving and he's just their Swiss Army knife of a reliever. He's been really, really good this year. Mizorowski, Sanchez, we've talked about those guys a lot. Snubs, I would say JJ Bleday had a really good month. Second base, you had Travis Bazzana originally. I pushed back a little bit there. Yeah. Michael Busch had a really good month for the Cubs, but they kind of stunk. And Kurtz had the better average, OBP, slug, WRC plus. I think Kurtz had the better month there. Arraez has been a revelation for the Giants. Third base, Caminero. You could have gone with Miguel Vargas from the White Sox, but Caminero, 305 batting average versus 250. The WRC plus is 23 points better. I just think Caminero deserved it. Caminero's been terrible defensively. Like that, he's
the bat's there, and Vargas has been terrible average-wise. You can argue he did have that big walk-off, but the average has been pretty tanked.
Yeah, he hit 250 in the month of May. Josh Young's had a really good season. I feel like we haven't talked about him a lot down in Texas. 314 batting average in the month of May. He's playing at an all-star caliber level for Texas. Xavier Edwards had a really good month. Travis Bazzano, like you said, 398 OBP in the month of May. I love his game. He's so much fun to watch. Hit 311. Ketel Marte somehow doesn't make this team, but only 295 in the month of May. I thought he was, much higher. Certainly had a really good stretch. Yeah, it was kind of the back half where he really turned it on. Bobby Witt, I feel like he might just be in this the whole season. In our team of the month, he's been so good for KC. And Soto, we had to sneak him in at DH. I know he's been playing left field and DH.
Ohtani can easily be in here. So, the Ohtani should just get, 2.
We should just have, the Ohtani position. If you had a position for two-way player so he could sneak into the team of the month every single month, I think we could do that.
What I noticed, can you notice one thing about this list?
No one from the Braves?
No, not the Braves, no.
No one from the Dodgers?
Nope.
I don't know what. I give up.
Look at the names. Shea Langoliers, Nick Kurtz, Junior Caminero, Bobby Witt Jr., James Wood, Christopher Sanchez, Jacob Mezrowski, all young guys. Travis Bazzana could have easily made it here at second base. It just shows you how we have the game in great hands for the future. All these guys are very young. It's not like usual suspects, the Aaron Judges, the, like I said, the Juan Soto made it on this list. The older guys that have been doing it for a while. These are the usual, a new batch of gems coming up through the game. Young guns.
Yeah, 100%. I think the league is in a really good place with young talent right now. I think there's a lot to be excited about. Keep just the rookie class this year. We talked about it before. It's just so loaded.
Historic. Yeah. We're gonna have to deep dive that one of these podcasts again. So maybe at the All-Star break we do that one. But William, Super Regionals, college baseball. I know you're excited. I'm excited. We're gonna wrap it up at this today. William, got some good series this weekend. We got Cal. We're gonna do some picks, William. I'm gonna go through each series and we're gonna do some picks, and we'll post a little graphic up before the games start tomorrow. William, Cal Poly or West Virginia?
I'll go with West Virginia. They had a fun little regional beating Kentucky. I think they had to beat them twice to advance in Morgantown. Really good atmosphere. I think they'll be singing Country Roads all the way to Omaha.
I'm taking Poly. Been to their campus. Been seeing a lot of their social media. They won the big series, the big regional out at UCLA. Predicted them to win after UCLA got knocked out in the last pod last week. So I'm taking Poly to win the series. One of the great teams out of the Big West. The Big West Conference in baseball is not one to sleep about. William, the Cinderellas, Little Rock versus Troy. So Little Rock, they beat Jacksonville State and Southern Miss, who Southern Miss hosted the regional. The opening regional, and then Troy, they beat Ryder and they beat Miami and they beat Florida twice after losing their opening game. Florida was one of the bigger favorites coming out of the of that regional, but they weren't able to make it because good old Troy. Troy will be hosting, I believe. Yes, Troy is hosting.
Yes, Troy's hosting. I knew a couple guys that played at both of these colleges, obviously close to Memphis. So I have no read. I would love to see the underdog. I mean, either way, it's going to be an underdog in Omaha, but Little Rock gets it done.
I'm taking Troy, man. Taking the hot team. I mean, when you beat the Florida teams, how strong Florida is, SEC, it just means more. And then Miami, one of the ACC powers. I know Miami kind of have had a down year, not typical to the Miami fan standard. I'm taking Troy. We're moving on. USC, UNC. So this is kind of a difficult pick for me. USC knocked off Texas A&M in their own backyard in their regional. Who you got?
Big Ten needs something, man. So I'm going with USC, although Carolina has had a really good team this year. Going into College Station and winning a regional is really impressive. UNC was undefeated last weekend, but they beat East Carolina twice in VCU. They weren't really tested. I think USC was battle tested. They go in on the road in College Station and on the road in Chapel Hill, and they advance to Omaha.
I'm taking UNC. Again, I think UNC is the pick for me. UNC, they got a good team. I think ACC baseball is far superior Big Ten. We talk about in football and basketball that the Big Ten and the SEC in football is the top two in baseball. It's argued for the SEC and the ACC. So give me ACC give me UNC.
Okay.
And I think this is one of the better series in my opinion. Ole Miss Auburn at Auburn. Who you got, William? I feel this is going to be an absolute pandemonium of a series this weekend.
Yeah, we were at this stadium in October when we were down there for a wedding, but Auburn almost lost to Milwaukee. I mean, they did lose to Milwaukee in the opener, and then they beat them twice to advance to this regional. And Ole Miss went into Nebraska, Big Ten foe, and got it done. So I think Auburn, they're going to right the ship after losing that opener in the regional. I do think they get it done against Ole Miss and advance to Omaha.
And I will take Auburn. So, hey, if they win, I'll wear the shirt next podcast.
All righty.
I'll wear the Auburn. I'll bring it back. I'll bring back the Auburn juju again. So, Oklahoma, Kansas. This series doesn't get me going. I'm just going to take Kansas. Who do you got? Oklahoma.
I think this is Kansas's first ever super. Give me Oklahoma. They had a really fun. They went into Georgia Tech and won that regional. That was really impressive. Georgia Tech was the number 2 overall seed. They beat them twice to advance. So, give me Oklahoma. They play really well from behind. They came back from behind, I think, to win every game in that regional.
I'm gonna take Oklahoma SEC baseball. I'm gonna switch. I'm not taking Big 12 baseball. So, yep, Oklahoma. I forgot. I keep forgetting Oklahoma's in the SEC.
I know it doesn't feel like it still.
So it's classic Big 12 matchup. St. John's representative of the Big East, William, versus Alabama. Who you got?
Give me St. John's. I'm riding with the Johnnies. Got to ride with the Big East. And Alabama.
I'm riding with Bama. Justin LeBron this year.
A lot of swing and miss in his bat, but they didn't have a very good crowd in Tuscaloosa last weekend. So I like the Johnnies. They went into Florida State and won. They can do it in Alabama.
Oregon, Texas. In Texas.
I think Texas might be my national champion.
I'm taking Texas as well. I think Texas is a strong team. And then Mississippi State, Georgia. I think in a perfect world, we get Mississippi State to advance to go play Ole Miss. If Ole Miss can get it done in Auburn. And you get Ole Miss, Mississippi State at Omaha. I think that would be one of the rowdiest crowds Omaha will see.
That would be insane. The Egg Bowl.
Egg Bowl in baseball.
You could also see Texas OU. You could also see Georgia versus Alabama, Georgia versus Auburn. Those are rivals. So there's a lot of potential for some rivalries.
Oregon, USC.
Oregon already played Oregon State in their regional final. Give me Georgia. I think Georgia and Texas are one of those will win the national championship this year. Those are my 2 picks.
I want to take State in support, but I'm gonna go Georgia. So
all right. That's it.
That wraps it up. How you doing today? How you feeling?
Feel good. PCA had a walk-off single, by the way. The Cubs won 7-6. So maybe they're turning around. They're alive.
Yeah, they're alive. We'll talk about it next time. So hey guys, thank you guys for joining us for the podcast. We're out of here. We'll be back Sunday night. I'll be back home, flying home Sunday. I'm going to the game tomorrow. We'll have our Instagram account, our socials will be having content. Make sure you follow us at Locked In Baseball on Instagram. Make sure you follow us on X/Twitter, Locked In Baseball Podcast. Make sure you follow us on YouTube. We're trying to get up to 500 subscribers by the end of the year. Make sure you give us a follow on YouTube and make sure to follow us on TikTok. Again, from my friend William Locke out in Chicago, me on the road here in Denver, Colorado. We'll be back Sunday night live and direct.
He said it all. Thank you guys for listening. Catch you guys on Sunday. Until then, peace out.